A sleep clinic, a group of exhausted narrators, and dreams that don't stay in the dark. Every night in October, nightmares become reality. Listen to this epic 31-part saga where the only thing scarier than the dreams is the therapy. Creepy presents The 31 Days of Horror. The nightmare begins October 1st. Listen to the whole series on the Creepy feed wherever you listen to podcasts. Wake up to the nightmare.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. They go perfectly with music, podcasts, and welcome back to the show. Even nature sounds. Oh, and the thing where someone crinkles tissue and whispers at you. Hello. Look, I'm not here to judge what you listen to. I'm here to judge you for not eating Reese's while you listen to it. Reese's. Actually, go back to the nature sounds. Nice. Yeah, that's really nice.
It's the big sale of the year at All Modern, a Wayfair specialty brand. October 26th through the 29th. Save up to 70% off modern furniture and decor, plus fast and free shipping. Shop the big sale of the year at allmodern.com.
You have to control yourself!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking special coins, we're talking treasure hunts, and we're talking flooded caves. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking un, dos, tres, toca la pared.
Okay.
Okay, everyone. We are discussing J.A. Bayona's The Orphanage. One of my personal favorite ghost stories, because it's a movie that it simultaneously scares me as much as it makes me cry.
This movie is deeply upsetting. It's
unique in that I think it's a horror film the first time you watch it.
Right.
But once you know what's going on, you're kind of like, oh, I mean, it's a ghost story.
Sure.
But I don't find it as scary on a second watch, except for that 1-2-minute scene with that knocking game.
Yes. And there's a great moment of gore. And folks, if you have not seen this film and you're just listening to us, I am going to say this is a film that has a kind of twist to it. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but I know some people do treat this like a puzzle film. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, would recommend pausing the episode, watching the movie, and then coming back.
Yeah, I absolutely would say that you could have this spoiled for you in the sense that, yeah, if you have it spoiled for you, the genre of film changes.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of. We'll discuss it.
We'll discuss it.
But actually, let me bring in our guest who's waiting in the wings. So everyone, she's got a PhD in cinema studies and currently acts as a contributing editor for Screen Anarchy. She has written essays for Blu-ray and DVD releases of such films as Paul Verhoeven's Black Book and Patty Jenkins' Monster. Her book, The Spanish Fantastic, Contemporary Filmmaking in Horror, Fantasy, and Sci-Fi, is also available right now. And you may remember her from our episode on Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. Great title. Please welcome back Shelagh Rowan-Legg.
Hello and gracias. Thank you. Very nice to be back.
Yes, glad to have you on this. I'm so excited to talk about this. I've been waiting to cover this for a while, but yes, thank you for joining us for this film.
Well, it's funny. I haven't, seen it in a long time, but of course, an image from the film is the cover of my book.
Right.
On Spanish cinema. So it's, it's kind of appropriate.
Kind of important then, yeah.
Well, so I guess, did you see this back when it originally came out, Shelagh?
Yes, I saw this at the Toronto International Film Festival. It was its North American premiere.
Right.
So, yeah, I remember it was a daytime screening, so I don't know if it was the first or second, because I don't remember the exact, I just remember it was an afternoon screening, because at the time I was in university doing my undergrad, and I'd fairly recently, I'd switched to the cinema studies department in my third year. I switched one of my minors. I took 5 years to do my undergrad because I switched. I was taking other things and I'm like, nah, I want to switch to cinema. So I hadn't yet settled on Spanish cinema, but The Orphanage was probably one of the films that started my brain in that direction.
Forgive me, because I may have asked you this very same question back when we had you on for Your Vice is a Locked Room, but I get going into film, but what drew you specifically to Spanish cinema?
I think I was fascinated by what I saw as a great renaissance in Spanish genre film, and that there was so much variety in it. You know, like Orphanage was a seed that was planted, but the film that really kicked it off for me was Sexy Killer.
Oh.
Don't know it.
Oh my goodness. This is, if there is a horror queer's title, this is it. Look it up. You definitely need to check this film out. It was a slasher film that played at Midnight Madness at TIFF.
Okay.
And that was the one that sort of said, hey, what is it's going on in Spanish film that I see so much variety? And what is about them? Like, the focus of my book, my PhD, which eventually became my book, was, you know, what do we see culturally in genre film? How do different cultures take the tropes of horror, fantasy, speculation, science fiction, and what do we see in it that reflects their culture? So I was just fascinated by the films from Spain and how much had changed. And as I dug into it, discovered, there's a very fascinating history in Spain with speculative genres.
Okay. I love this because I think it'd be really easy, I will put myself into this category, for maybe some dumb North Americans to say, oh, well, this is a fairly traditional ghost story. Like, I don't know that I see a ton of Spanish culture in this movie, so I'm hoping that you might be proving me wrong.
Actually, I might not be.
Damn, okay.
One of the arguments that I talk about is that there is not a lot in this film that is specific to Spain. I'm guessing Trace might bring up the fact that there was, at a time, possibly an American adaptation of this.
Right.
Well, they tried.
Yeah, they tried, and it didn't end up happening. And when I heard about this, I'm like, oh yeah, it actually wouldn't need to change that much.
Right.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's localized to one location, I feel like, and we're not really delving into like Spanish history in the narrative of the film.
Yeah, exactly. There's although there have been some interpretations in that direction, and we can definitely talk about that as we go along.
Okay.
How some other scholars have looked into what might be underlying that isn't obvious on first watch.
Okay. Yes. I think that's what I'm hoping for.
Yes.
Well, if not, it's okay, because we still have a good movie to talk about.
That is also true. Sometimes a great movie is also just a great movie.
Well, and actually, because Joe, before I get into the production, because you said you had not seen this since you saw it the first time.
Yeah.
Did this hold up for you?
It did. I found that there were whole sections I had kind of forgotten. I think that there are standout moments that sort of etch themselves into your memory, but the minutia, I actually found that I was confusing this film with another Spanish movie that I saw on like late night television.
Racist.
How dare. No, I think it's called Julia's Eyes.
Yeah. Well, that's the same star.
Maybe that's it. Yes, because I was like, this woman is super familiar.
Yeah.
I love her. And
oh yeah, Belén Rueda. Yeah, I saw that at Sitges. Yeah. That's
there we go.
Yeah.
And also produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Okay. And that one seems to be another, I'm wandering around the house. It's got a bit of a gothic feel to it. It is a slightly different subgenre because that is not a ghost movie. But yes, I think that must have been it, Sheila. It's this lady. I love her so much.
Oh yeah, she's a big star in Spain.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, she got a Goya nomination for this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, okay, well, here, let's go into this. I actually don't have a ton of production on this film, so we're just going to dive right into it. But yes, this is written by screenwriter Sergio G. Sanchez, who would go on to write the 2012 disaster film The Impossible, starring Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor and a baby Tom Holland.
Yes, great movie.
Which I've always heard that, but never seen it.
It's not great.
Oh,
no! No, I love it.
It was received well, I thought.
I didn't like it. I just, it's based on a true story.
Yes, it's based on the tsunami that hit Thailand.
The tsunami and the Spanish family who all managed to survive. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was bad necessarily, but it's probably just it didn't appeal to me. But
right.
It was about a Spanish, the real thing was about a Spanish family?
The real story, yes. It was a Spanish family that this happened to, but obviously they anglicized it for a wider audience.
Yeah, because it's Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, even though it's written and directed by Spanish men. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Anyway, I didn't realize that was also directed by J.A. Bayona. Because I feel like when I think of Bayona, I think of this, I think of A Monster Calls, and I think of
Jurassic
World Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, which I think that's what most people are going to know him from. And I know people hate Fallen Kingdom. I will just say, I think the last half of that movie is fucking great, but whatever.
It's kind of scary.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, he goes for gothic horror. It's dinosaurs in a mansion.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
like,
I don't know. I assume my partner has seen it, and for my partner, any film that has a T-Rex automatically gets 5 stars. So
yeah, that's fair. But I will say, so Sanchez, the screenwriter, because he wanted to direct this film, he didn't get to, obviously, but his directorial debut was the 2017 film Marrowbone with Mia Goth and Anya Taylor-Joy.
No, I thought he had a movie before that called The End.
No, sorry. He wrote The End. He didn't direct The End. Marrowbone is his directorial debut.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, wait.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No. It's okay. I love this. This is how all of my conversations with all my film friends go. It's like, wait, no, fact check.
I know details. You don't.
I liked Marrowbone. I thought it was good.
I thought it was interminable. But
it's got George Mackay, and he's just so beautiful to look at all the time. So.
Yeah,
that is fair. I feel like, Sheila, maybe the reason that we're differing on some of these is that you have an appreciation of visual aesthetics, and I think Trace and I are usually a little bit more plot focused.
Possibly, yeah.
I appreciate visuals more if I'm entertained, I guess. But yeah,
Wow.
sure. No, I gave Marrowbone a 2.5 in my review. 2.5 out of 5. I thought it was fine. I just didn't particularly like. I didn't like it or hate it. But anyway, so. Sanchez wrote the script for The Orphanage in 1996, with some of his influences being The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, Poltergeist, Turn of the Screw, and obviously Peter Pan, for all you alien Earth heads out there.
Oh my God, Trace, the way I groaned.
I know, Peter Pan. But I would argue this is maybe less heavy-handed with Peter Pan than Alien Earth is.
Yeah, it only comes up a couple of times, and I do think it's well executed. So I wasn't mad. It was more, oh wow. It's so bizarre how things just kind of keep coming back.
Mm-hmm. Now, the thing is, as I said, he really wanted to direct this film, but having no directorial credits to his name, he was turned down by every Spanish production company that he took this idea to. So he decided to start making some short films to show these people what he could do.
Okay.
So this is the interesting thing. So I cut to a few years later. Now, I found reports that said 2004, where he was working on his fantasy short horror film 7337 about a young teacher who arrives at an isolated rural school that has been abandoned since the Spanish Civil War. But that short came out in 2000. So there's a 4-year disconnect here between some of these reports. But either way, during this period, he met J.A. Bayona, and they became really good friends. And I don't know if maybe Sanchez had gotten tired of trying to get this movie made with him as director, or if he just really liked Bayona and said, you know what, fuck it, you can do it. He eventually asked Bayona, who already had 2 shorts under his belt, to direct The Orphanage.
Right. Okay.
Now, Bayona cut parts of the script, including the outcome of the other children at the orphanage, meaning the ones that were not murdered, because he wanted to focus on the character of Laura, played by, as we said, Belén Rueda, and what happens to her. The only problem was, to create the film as he wanted, Bayona was going to have to double both the film's projected budget and the amount of filming time.
Okay.
Luckily for him, he had been good friends with Guillermo del Toro ever since they met at the 1993 Sitges Film Festival when del Toro was screening his debut feature, Kronos.
Right.
Del Toro, at this time, was in the middle of promoting Pan's Labyrinth, because Pan's Labyrinth had its world premiere in May of 2006, just 1 year before The Orphanage premiered at Cannes in May of 2007. But Del Toro agreed to co-produce the film basically as soon as Bayona asked him. He was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Here's your money.
Helps to have friends.
Yeah. So filming began on May 15th, 2006, and this is just 2 weeks before Pan's Labyrinth premiered at Cannes, in Llanes, Asturias. And they filmed pretty much all of the exterior shots over the course of 4 weeks in this town of Asturias, and then moved back to Barcelona for 10 more weeks to complete shooting on sound stages. And these sound stages were basically the interior of the colonial house. But the exteriors, as we see it, are what are in the film.
Man, that is a really long shoot for what we're seeing. I'm kind of surprised.
I wonder if maybe the construction of the sets was going into those 10 weeks. I mean...
Maybe.
I would think so, yeah. Probably.
Yeah. But, I mean, to me, I'm just like, why don't you save time and have them be building the sets while you're filming the exteriors for those 4 weeks? But maybe Bayona wanted to be more on hand during all of this.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So, as I said, The Orphanage had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival in May of 2007, where it received a 10-minute-long standing ovation, which... Again, sounds great, but I mean...
I hate the standing ovation clock bullshit. Can we just stop,
And honestly,
please?
I don't believe it half the time. You try clapping your hands for more than a minute or two.
I was going to say...
much.
I'm tired and bored.
Like, I've never understood it. But you know what? If that's the metric we're using to judge like success at Cannes, sure, whatever. Sure. That could be Cannes' thing.
I don't know. I remember being at the world premiere of The Handmaiden, the Park Chan-wook film. And heck, I was sitting across the aisle from the cast and crew for that. And it was like a few minute ovation. But I remember reading the next day what somebody said in minutes. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I was there. It was not that long.
Maybe no one wants to speak up because they don't want to like hurt the film or something. Maybe, but I don't know. I feel like the longest one I read was maybe a 17-minute ovation, and I was just
I've read one of those too.
I would sit down, honestly.
But I've also seen people trying to not debunk it, but just get a sense of how are they timing this, because some people have said it's like from the minute the movie, like the closing credits begin, and people are like, yay, to, you know, standing ovation, cameras on the director and the cast, or they come down to the stage, and part of me is just like, I don't know, none of this feels consistent. So so I take all of it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so The Orphanage just get a limited theatrical release in the States on December 28th of 2007 before going wide in January of 2008. And that's probably when I saw it, because I definitely saw this in theaters. But it would go on to gross $7 million domestically and $71 million overseas for a worldwide gross of $78 million against a production budget of 4.5 million euros.
Okay, that's a pretty darn good investment.
Yeah, I was like, hell, this movie's a rousing success. Even though, I mean, $7 million in the States is kind of like, but maybe it just kind of paled in comparison to the success that Pan's Labyrinth had over here.
Right.
But critically, though, it was well received. Again, not as much as Pan's Labyrinth, which, you know, I realize I'm the one comparing the two right now, but so many reviews at the time did. And I'm just kind of like, they're not really that comparable to me, because Pan's Labyrinth to me is like an adult fairy tale, whereas this very much is like a classic ghost story. And I did see some reviews saying, you know, like Pan's Labyrinth is a horror film told through a child's eyes, whereas The Orphanage is a horror film told through a parent's eyes. And I did like that comparison.
I think that's more appropriate. I think if Guillermo wasn't attached to this in some way, people would not be making the connection. But also, I would prefer, unless we really see a lot of strong parallels, I would prefer to just talk about this film by itself and not reference Del Toro's involvement.
And honestly, if you're going to compare it to a Del Toro film, you compare it to The Devil's Backbone, because that is set in an orphanage and it's about a ghost.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. But I think you're right. I agree. I'm on with you on this, Joe. Let's not talk about Del Toro specifically, I think.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where also when this came out, so many people thought it was directed by Del Toro, because people don't read the credits whenever it's X presents what movie.
It's the Wes Craven, Jordan Peele effect.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. Which, hey, you know, I get it for marketing, but people are stupid because they don't want to read, I guess. But anyway. But okay, so yeah, we're looking at an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie, and Letterboxd users have given this a 3.6 out of 5 or a 7.2 out of 10. It was nominated for 14 Goya Awards, again, the Spanish version of the Oscars, including...
Which I love, because they will always nominate a horror film.
Yes!
Fuck the U.S. Academy, baby.
So it was nominated for Best Picture, but it ended up winning for Best Art Direction, Best Director of Production, Best Makeup and Hair, Best New Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Special Effects.
Interesting.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm. It lost Best Picture to Jaime Rosales' Le Soledad, or Solitary Fragments. Belén Rueda lost Best Actress to Maribel Verdú for her performance in Gracia Querejetas, Siete Mesas de Billar Francés, or 7 Billiard Tables.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Maribel Verdú, also a big star who was in Pan's Labyrinth. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
God damn it, Sheila. What did we just say?
I had to.
You had to.
The Orphanage was also chosen by the Spanish Academy of Films as Spain's nominee for the 2007 Academy Award for Best Foreign Film, but it did not ultimately end up as one of the final nominees.
Oh.
The winner that year was Stefan Ruzowitzki's The Counterfeiters, which won for Austria.
Yeah, that was
I don't even remember that movie.
Oh, very good film, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, we don't have to really go too much into the remake of it all, except for the fact that, like, they really were trying to get this done, to the point where even by 2011, Amy Adams was in talks to star as Laura. Of course, I'm sure she would just be Laura in that version. With
sure.
Larry Fessenden's heavy involvement.
Yes,
I think that's fascinating.
Yes. I mean, like he had written a screenplay, and basically August of 2021, someone checked in with him, and he just said the clock ran out. Like, if they could not land an actress of the caliber they had hoped for. So I don't know what happened with Amy Adams or what was going on. It does suck. I mean, again, I'm not anti-remake. I would have loved to have seen a version of this movie with Amy Adams just to see, especially with Fessenden's involvement. But does this movie need a remake? No.
As I said, I think what is specific to Spain about it is not noticeable unless you watch it a few times. To the average viewer, you could just watch it and you don't need to know too much specifically to get enough out of it.
Well, and that's why I would say, though, because this is coming out around the same time, the tail end of the J-horror remake craze in the States. And I would argue that a lot of those J-horror films, are films that are specifically tied to a culture. You actually, could do something to remake those if you translate it to America. But so many of those films don't do that. They just take the same movie and remake it without any context for, the culture over there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of offensive and often doesn't yield very good results. I do wonder if maybe that explains some of the... I mean, I'm not going to say it's a poor box office performance, but obviously 7 million, yes, we might have hoped for more. I wonder if it was getting lost in the shuffle of the J-horror, because those are all ghost movies for the most part as well.
It may have been, but... And I mean, Pan's Labyrinth, because that did get a lot of Oscar nominations, and it did win quite a few. And so I do wonder if maybe that was just more in the cultural zeitgeist, because at the end of the day, I mean, I hate to say it, but Americans especially don't want to read subtitles when they go to the movie theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
A sleep clinic, a group of exhausted narrators and dreams that don't stay in the dark. Every night in October, nightmares become reality. Listen to this epic 31-part saga where the only thing scarier than the dreams is the therapy. Creepy presents The 31 Days of Horror. The nightmare begins October 1st. Listen to the whole series on the Creepy feed wherever you listen to podcasts. Wake up to the nightmare.
It's the big sale of the year at All Modern, a Wayfair specialty brand. October 26th through the 29th. Save up to 70% off modern furniture and decor, plus fast and free shipping. Shop the big sale of the year at allmodern.com.
Okay, we'll move on from that.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's what I have, Joe. So what happens in this movie?
All right, so we open on the children of Good Shepherd Orphanage playing a game of, I mean, I call this tag, but it's like sneak up on the person who will ultimately chase you around. I don't know if there's a better name for it, but it's like 2 games in one.
It's a combination of tag and red light, green light, or like Simon Says or something like that.
Yeah. So the person who is knocking, who will ultimately be tagged and then have to chase the other kids around, is Laura. And in child form, she is played by Maria Renault. And so she's counting. The other kids are inching closer. And then we're also starting to cross-cut with a phone call that reveals that Laura is about to be adopted, but she doesn't really know this. And then we just kind of go from this tease, like there's an ominousness to it, but we don't really understand why that might be a bad thing. But we go into our credits and title card. And I will say, I love this effect because, I don't know, there's something lo-fi about it, but I really just enjoy the child hands ripping the wallpaper away to reveal a hidden layer underneath.
Well, but I think it's creepy, though. And again, this is where I'm going to kind of go into my whole, the genre of the film changes when you know the ending. Because I do think on a first watch, I was terrified by this movie. And I think a lot of the opening credits here, I mean, the way that the hands are moving to peel the wallpaper back, I think is really creepy. And I think because for most of the film, and maybe y'all felt differently on a first watch, you don't know if these kids are malicious or not, if they have evil designs or intentions. And that, the uncertainty, the unknowable factor there is what added to so much of my fear when I watched this the first time.
I would argue that you're meant to think they have some kind of nefarious intention, especially once, Simon disappears. We think, oh, maybe these fucking ghosts are responsible or something. But we're just so primed to always think of ghosts in a nefarious, malicious kind of sense. So I love that the film says, oh, we know you think that. We're going to play on that.
Well, also the fact that it's an orphanage, you come to an orphanage and you know you're kind of getting into a gothic film. Nothing good ever happens in an orphanage in this kind of situation.
True. Yeah.
And especially the ghosts are usually ones that something bad has happened to them and maybe they'll have, revenge on their minds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or we naturally assume, oh, well, it's an orphanage. Nobody loves these kids. They must be getting abused and so on, which is partially correct here.
One question for y'all before we move on, because I really enjoy Fernando Velasquez's score for this movie, but I did see some reviews that were pointing out that the score was often at odds with the horror of the piece. Like, it was a bit too intrusive. I think that might be why I like it, but I didn't know if y'all paid attention to this, if y'all had any thoughts on that.
I've never felt intrusive to me. I always liked it.
Okay, cool.
There was one beat where it felt like it was almost jokey, jovial, and I was surprised because the moment was actually a tenser moment, and I was like, oh, this is an interesting choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we'll see if I wrote it in my notes. I can't remember.
We'll see. I've got 2 music cues that I really like in this movie, so I'll point them out.
Fantastic. Okay, so we jump ahead to adult Laura, who is, as we mentioned, played by Belén Rueda, and she wakes up as her son, Simon, who is played by Roger Princep, cries out in the night. And I love that we were just thrust into the present day. We don't know exactly how much time has passed. I've seen people say, oh, it's 30 years. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not like we got a date or anything. Mm-hmm. But we also don't know where she is, and it won't be until after all of these nighttime reassurances with the light from the lighthouse and talking about her time in the orphanage and reassuring Simon that, okay, even though I'm fucking exhausted, I guess you can sleep with me. It's not until the next day when she comes downstairs and we see the movers moving boxes around that we're like, oh, she's in the orphanage. She bought the orphanage. That's the place they've moved into.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that it's kind of, we might be able to guess that it's the same person, the girl and the woman, because it's, something of a match cut, not quite a match cut. Right. But yeah, the fact that we see the boxes and it's like, okay, are they moving in or are they moving out?
Yes.
And then the next morning with that. Yeah, I like that. Because that also, declares, well, it's mostly a single location film.
It's that, and I think the movie is also already training us. You need to be paying attention for visual clues because there are mysteries. Like, this is a movie about discovering, and you have to see in order to spot things. Like, the whole movie is based on people discovering things that are hidden around this orphanage. And I like that the movie is slyly saying, hey, are you paying attention as an audience?
A movie asking its audience to pay attention. Imagine something.
Novelty.
Imagine that.
Get off your fucking phone.
I hadn't actually watched this for years, and I still get a laugh out of when Simone first starts crying for, mama, and Carlos, her husband, rolls over and says, I'll go, it's my turn, but he's not moving, he's just rolling over.
Right.
It's funny because, I don't know, sometimes this happens when it's time to feed the cat, and I'm the one who ends up getting up. And even though my partner might like, oh no, I'll get up, but then he doesn't.
And then they just don't move.
They just don't go. But honestly, I don't have kids, so my friends who are parents, this has happened. If a child is crying for a specific parent, they want that specific parent. The other parent will not suffice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Carlos is an interesting character. He's played by Fernando Cayo. And I would argue, he's here. He's a character. But the movie doesn't care about him all that much. And you're right, Sheila. Simone doesn't really care about him all that much. Like, this is very much about the relationship between mother and son. Mm-hmm. And Carlos he's hovering around the periphery, but I kind of like that there's this fixation on, okay, it's more about a relationship between these two people. The other person is there, but they're not as important.
Well, and I will say, because there comes a point in this movie where I kind of turn against Carlos, where I'm like, dude.
Oh, 100%. Where he's fucking Pilar, and the movie just doesn't say it explicitly.
Well, at this point, though, I'm kind of like, okay, he has married this woman, they have adopted a child together, and he has agreed to help her reopen the orphanage she grew up in and keep 5 to 6 kids in their house in addition to Simone. And I was like, that's commitment. So
he seems like a saint initially.
Like, I agree that the film doesn't really focus on him enough to where I really develop any kind of meaningful connection with Carlos, but just based on this setup alone, I'm like, wow, that's a good husband.
Yeah. I think there's something to talk about when we get to the scenes scenes where they're both dealing with their grief differently, where we can debate how are each of them dealing with it and what's good, what's bad. You know, again, you know, none of us having children,
right?
You know, we can only extrapolate. But it's a funny moment. I think it shows a little bit of the relationship between them, which is it gives us a nice idea of Laura and Carlos's dynamic.
Right. Yeah. And here they seem pretty solid. You know, she sidles up to him at the piano. She is clearly the more high strung. He's a little bit more casual and laid back, but he's good at reading her mood and saying, don't worry, we're going to make this place a home. It's going to be pretty good. So at least at this point, we get a sense, okay, he's solid. He's good for her. But also when it's time to go for a walk on the beach, it's okay, you're going to stay here and catch up with us later. So it's Laura and Simon who go for the walk across the beach to the cave. And I haven't mentioned it, but we do have imaginary friends in play. So Simone wanted the window left open so that his imaginary friends could come in the night. And then when he gets into this cave, all of a sudden we're talking to people who aren't there. And ooh, it's a creepy kid movie.
That is such a creepy moment with the way he's whispering. I don't, you know, between with the young actor delivering his lines and the sound design there. I think that was the first moment when I originally watched it. And I remember because I saw a public screening. So the whole audience was like, you could feel it.
Yeah.
The vibe going up in the room. It's like, oh, there's something different. This is not a kid talking to an imaginary friend. There's something different here.
And it's that moment, though, where he leaves and Laura is like curious and she kind of, I love Bayona's direction where he really is, it's slow, but not boring slow, where we kind of like creep with Laura. She goes around this bend to look and see if there's anything there. And we're just waiting and waiting, but there's not.
Yes. Yeah. I love jump scares that aren't jump scares because there's no payoff. And you just realize, oh, they tried to get me, but they knew that I was waiting for it. So they didn't do it.
And it's almost creepier because of it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. This is something I thought about. I have kids in the downstairs apartment, 2 young kids. And it's interesting for me as somebody who doesn't have children to watch them. I see them all the time. I see them almost every day. And I've noticed when we first moved in, they were coming around and visiting us a lot. And they've been doing so less and less because they're gotten to the age where they have more friends. They're like 5 and 7 years old. And it's always this thing where people say, oh, you know, if you're going to have kids, you got to have a house with a big yard. You got to go to somewhere where kids can run around. Kids need physical space to run around. And then I remember, I don't know if I was listening to a program or talking to somebody saying, well, no, what kids need is other kids. Kids need community. So yeah, you know, it's all well and good. Like these kids downstairs, they have a shit ton of energy. So I can understand how their parents are like, go outside and play, run around till you tire yourself out. I get that. But kids need other kids to be around. They need community. So this poor kid, you know, we get the impression that he's got these imaginary friends. It's because he doesn't have any other friends.
Right. Yeah. And of course, you get the impression that Laura understands this. Like, she does look back fondly on her time in the orphanage. It's part of the reason that she wants to open up her own school or place for special kids, as she says. So I think she understands that, but also you can tell that she is so protective of Simon that she kind of wants him all to herself still. So you can sense that divide in her, I think.
Yeah. We never given an impression if the family she was adopted into was good or bad.
Right.
So we can probably assume that they were good. She's, you know, or maybe
She's
not. Maybe
well.
there's some hidden, you know, maybe Belén Rueda had this whole backstory that she was using for her character about what kind of home Laura was adopted into.
But we're not privy to that as the audience.
We're not privy to that information. So, yeah, but yeah, so the fact that she wants to go back to this, give her son, who is adopted like she was, the life that she loved the most when she was a child.
Right. Yeah. She's trying to replicate a childhood that she either enjoyed or that she was maybe taken away from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the other piece that I like about these opening scenes with her and Simon is that there is such a table setting of foreshadow where, you know, if you say, here's a cave and we need to get out of here because it's dangerous when the water starts to come in.
Yeah.
Well, bitch, you're setting me up because now I want
Chekhov's,
that.
It's Chekhov's watery cave.
Yeah, Chekhov's watery cave. We've got Chekhov's HIV medication, Chekhov's invisible friends. Like, yeah.
This movie is loading us up for, oh shit, there's a bunch of bad stuff that could happen.
But this is actually isn't one of the music cues that I love, but I do like it. Is whenever they're leaving the cave and he's leaving the trail of seashells and the camera just kind of pans down and we get this like ominous music stinger on this one shell as we're like, ah!
Don't be leaving out breadcrumbs for these ghosts to follow you home, little boy.
Oh, and I love that camera angle because it's like, that's an unusual camera angle. Is it about the height of a child and a child bending down to pick up the seashell?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, question, and it doesn't really matter, but like, did y'all believe then that this is the first time that Tomas, as we will come to know him, has then made it to the house because Simone led him there, or has Tomas been in the house the entire time?
Oh, God. Okay, this raises a much larger question of, do we think these ghosts are real?
I do.
Well, don't we have proof that they're real at the end? Well, no, that's a good question. Do you know the American television show Ghosts?
Yes.
Yes. We're big fans.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I love this. We've been working our way through it. So is it like Ghosts where they have a whole property that they're allowed to...
Right?
Roam?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To roam.
Honestly, it's so funny because every episode I watch of Ghosts, I've watched it through twice because Joe got me to watch it and I watched it by myself. And then I was like, I told my husband, you have to watch this. So I watched it again with him. And I was like, it's so funny, but also this is hell. Like their existence is hell.
The worst.
Yes.
It's
Just
the true definition of wanting to be sucked up.
or go down on us.
Wow.
Yeah. So like Tomas, maybe he's stuck there because he doesn't have his mask. And he finally makes a friend who's like, you can come out of the cave. Because, we sort of are told, but then we learn this orphanage was and will be for children with special needs. They seem to be physical ailments or illnesses. Like Simone, we learn, is HIV positive.
Yeah.
When they have the party, we can see there's some children with Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a little girl with a leg brace and there was a blind girl during Laura's time as well.
So I guess the idea being these are children that they have a harder time being adopted because they have specific needs that too many people are just not willing to take on.
Right.
Yeah, which is also an interesting piece because then it recontextualizes why Laura was the one to be adopted because she is quote unquote and I'm using scare quotes folks here because I do not agree with this sentiment, but some people would say, oh, it's because she's normal. Yeah. Okay, so yes, we breadcrumb it back to the house so Tomas can find his way out of the cave because we will discover eventually that is his final resting place because he died there when the cave flooded. But let's introduce a new character, folks. We've got quote-unquote social worker Benina, who is played by Montserrat Carula, and she shows up with her big glasses and she's a little sus, we'll put it that way. She arrives in the rain, which is extra sus because it's a horror movie. And then, we learn that Laura wants to reopen this house for 5 to 6 special children. And she does not understand what the fuck Benina is doing here. Like, what do you want, woman?
I actually really like that this is like a 70-something-year-old woman because I think it's like just her appearance in general is very disarming because you're like, well, how dangerous could she really be?
Right.
And granted, I mean, I'm not saying that I really want more Benigna because I think we get enough of her in the film.
I think so.
But there's another story there with her that I think is very tragic and sad. And it's the kind of thing where I wouldn't mind learning more about Benigna and like getting more of her perspective, but I get why it's not in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's played, she at least starts out just well enough. They're like, okay, maybe showing up at the house.
Yep.
Yes, social workers do make house calls. They often make them unannounced because they need to catch foster parents or whatever
off guard,
to make sure everything's real, so everything's mostly okay, but slightly off.
Yeah.
But Laura picks up on this, though, because it's like, at a certain point, I mean, I agree, because she's like, okay, well, Simone doesn't know about his HIV diagnosis. He doesn't know he's adopted. But then she didn't even ask. She just goes, please leave.
I love this. I love that Belén
it
has limited patience for this. Like, Laura, she's smart. She immediately is suspicious of this. She's like, all right, I'll play along a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure. Like, she knows. Like, I like the fact that she's calling this woman out saying, no, wait a second. Who are you? Why do you have this information? You shouldn't have this information. This makes no sense. I like how quickly she susses out that she doesn't like this, or she's willing to accept the consequences if she's wrong. Like, I think in her mind, she's like, I don't trust this woman. If it turns out that she's legit, I will apologize. But in the meantime, bad
in the meantime, get the fuck out.
Well, and I think it helps that Carlos, because she says, Carlos, my husband's a doctor. Like, he knows all about this. So what are you doing here?
And I guess we never find out what her job was. I mean, I suppose running the orphanage will now be her job, but what she did before, we never learn. I don't know if it's important or not. It probably isn't important.
No, but I mean, we're also assuming she did have a job before this. Maybe she didn't.
But now this is her job, running, and that's a big job, running an orphanage.
Yeah.
And her husband, I like that. Okay, husband's a doctor. Okay, I love it. This is information we need. But, the exposition. But I love it when they find, oh, yes, this is very logical. She would say, my husband's a doctor. We know how to look after these kids. Like, there's a reason why he and I are doing this together.
Yeah. But also, we're bearing the fucking lead here. We as an audience didn't know that Simone was adopted or had HIV until this moment. So
I know it's brought in so casual, like, oh, again, clues. We got to pay attention.
Well, because because that's also something like children with HIV, like, it's not something you really see presented in film very often. I mean, and if they are, it's usually because they're like coming from like a drug addicted mother, I feel like, is usually how it's often portrayed. And we don't really learn anything about Simone's birth mother or his father. But I like, because I did screen this for my Terror Tuesday screening at the Draft House a couple weeks ago. And that reveal of the HIV positive, you could hear the entire theater like audibly gasp.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a little bit of background on this. I found an Ion interview with Sergio Sanchez, screenwriter, and this interviewer asked him specifically, so why HIV? Because that's a unique thing. We could have just said, oh, he has some kind of cancer or some kind of condition that needs medication, because the whole idea is that he's gone missing. And if he doesn't have the medication, he's more vulnerable. He could die much more easily. But we specifically chose HIV. So we asked Sanchez, this is his response. I thought it would say a lot about the character, as in Laura. Someone that is willing to adopt a kid with such a disease is someone that is going to be really strong. She has a bit of a Wendy syndrome. She wants to be a good mom and take care of all the children, but almost as if she was playing because she is not ready to face those responsibilities. She is not able to see the needs of her own son. She is unable to see that he needs attention. And I like this as a half answer, not because I think that Sanchez is trying to hide something, but Trace, this is me putting on my detective hat and going back to, you said there was inaccuracies in the reporting of when the script was developed, because I saw it was 1996 in some places. Yeah. And I did a little digging into a report called Mortality from HIV/AIDS in Spain, 1981 to 2008, and found that 1995, so the year before this screenplay was written, was actually the highest incident for deaths in men in Spain. It peaked in 1995 with nearly 6,000 deaths. So part of me was like, assuming that this script was written in the mid to late 90s, it would be conceivable that we were still thinking about the AIDS crisis and what that does to a generation and how many people were dying from it. And then that's a good way to engender sympathy for a child. But then also, because I'm a fucking asshole, I was like, isn't it interesting that J.A. Bayona is a queer man? So I wondered how much of this was a little bit of finessing to be like, hey, this is an important thing that is still facing the world. Because this movie, every time we do anything with the HIV meds, it immediately spells death.
I'm not going to lie. I did not know that Bayona was gay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea.
It's the reason we programmed this movie.
I thought we were just programming it because it's awesome.
It's also awesome.
I don't know if Sergio Sanchez is gay.
I could not find that information. Part of me was like, how did the two of them come to be friends? But I mean, they could have just been hanging around at film festivals together too.
I mean, you never know. I've met J.A. Bayona. So it's a small world.
Truly. Yeah.
I think if you are, 80s and 90s, I mean, I have a friend who's actually written extensively on portrayals of AIDS and HIV in Spanish cinema.
Okay.
Although mostly from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And so looking at, the days when it was called the gay cancer, and, Spain, like most other countries, the queer community had to really fight to get proper acknowledgement and proper help from health departments from their countries. If you've seen, the French film 120 Beats per Minute, talks about what France is like, and I think Spain was very similar. So you can imagine, and I mean, I grew up, it was when I was a tween, and then when I was a teenager, and my high school in Toronto had condom machines in the bathrooms, and we were told, it was drilled into us. So so you can imagine both of them, Sanchez and Bayona, both probably had that. I mean, also AIDS is, I think HIV, it's the kind of thing where a kid could probably not know about it. He could just take medication, and you would know when you were adopting him that he had this. So you made the choice, the health of somebody who probably will not live very long.
Right. Yeah.
Although, I mean, as of recording this, it was a few weeks ago they announced a vaccine, which is just absolutely extraordinary. But, in the 90s and the early 2000s, that didn't exist. I mean, certainly healthcare is better, but...
I was going to say, because at the time when this movie came out, and you're right, Joe, the script was written in 1996. That is correct. I don't know how much it changed after that, but it was written in 96. But even when this came out in 2007, like, treatment for HIV is nowhere near what it is today. And even public knowledge of it. Like, I was talking to some of our straight peers, like, in the horror industry, and I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, like, there's now medication that's called PrEP that, you can take.
Right, and
like,
they're just like, wait, what?
And they were like, wait, what? Like, so you can have, like, unprotected sex with someone with HIV, and like it can be safe still? I was like, yeah. I mean, like, there's obviously still, risk involved, but it's like, what is PrEP's effectiveness? Like 97% plus. Also, with people with HIV having undetectable status, like where they can't transmit it. Like straight people don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which they should, because look, condoms aren't just about AIDS. They're absolutely other things.
For sure.
You should still be using condoms, people.
You should still be using condoms. But like having unprotected sex with someone with HIV, assuming that both sides are, using the proper medication,
right?
The risk is very minimal now.
Yeah, and it's also not a death sentence if you get it. Like,
exactly.
This movie, I think contemporary audiences could watch it and mistake the idea that Simon has medication means that he could manage the symptoms or he might be fine. Whereas we know in 2007, this kid is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's, taking that on. This is obviously important to Laura to adopt a child who not only needs a family just because he's an orphaned child, but because he has this illness that will kill him young.
Yeah. Special conditions.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's interesting that Laura doesn't want Simone to find out about this, because as soon as we kick this old lady out, we are taking these documents and we are putting them under lock and key in this kitchen cabinet. So I do love that this key and this file will be revealed in a very short amount of time, because we don't like to keep secrets in this movie. Shockingly enough.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I said this movie is a bit slowly paced. And I don't mean that as not a derogatory statement, but the rate at which reveals happen, I think, is also pretty quick. Like, I think we learn things sooner than we expect.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It's weird. It does feel slow in some parts, but I think that's actually very, very deliberate and intentional. And then, when the scares, when the reveals need to happen, they're coming out kind of lickety-split.
Well, it's, when we find out in that scene that he's HIV positive, he's adopted, we might think, oh, this is what the climax is going to be, him finding this out. When we find out, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later?
Not even. Yeah.
Well, but even with this next scene, where Laura hears something outside and she goes to the shed and boom, we have Benigna out there in a good jump scare, I might add, with the shovel. but then like she runs away. And again, the score, I wrote in my notes, the score is a bit deviously whimsical as Benigna runs away from the shed.
that was the moment I had in my notes where I wrote, it's played almost like it's a jokey comedy. And part of me thought, oh, that's a unique choice. Because this scene plays visually like a scare, but then it's almost as if the music says, don't worry about her, she's actually not threatening.
But I don't know, because if I was Laura, I would have been
I'd be terrified.
Get the fuck out. I mean, I know she's got a shovel, but she's an old woman. I really think Laura could have taken her.
But that's the thing too, though. I don't think Benigna would have harmed Laura. I don't think she would have hit her with this shovel. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We don't know much about Benigna.
I don't know. I think she would have.
She did murder a bunch of kids, I guess. But
yeah. So there you go.
We are led to believe. Yeah. We never really understand what she's doing back here. Is she trying to cover up the evidence? Is she trying to collect the bones?
That would be my suspicion. She's trying to collect the evidence.
Okay.
She asks Laura in that meeting before Laura tells her to leave, she says, are you planning on doing any renovations to the house? Meaning,
covering her tracks.
Are you doing something with that shed outside? Like, that's what she wants to know. So yeah, she's going to hide the bones. To which I was even saying, like, I mean, would they really trace these bones back to you? I don't know.
It's a question. Yeah. Clearly she doesn't want to take that risk. Also, Is this like a crematorium in this shed? Because when Laura's cleaning that out later on, I was like, is this like an industrial oven? Are we cooking a bunch of kids' bodies in here on the regular?
So the house was an old colonial home. And so I would say maybe yes, this is meant to be like a big oven.
That's worrying.
But there's like four of them. There's like four of them.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been like, that could have been the kitchen. It could have been the stoves. And if you had a big family and lots of cooking, it could happen. Maybe they...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, the house is ginormous, so this would all make sense, right? I mean, we can turn a house into an orphanage, so presumably if rich people live there, they might have servants and so on. Okay, I'm satisfied with that.
Okay.
Okay, so Laura opens the door in the morning after scaring off Benigna, and we find a collection of shells on the doorstep. Someone has found their way home.
I love that reveal, by the way. And Laura doesn't even seem that concerned about it, but the audience were like, oh.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, we should also note that this kind of circular swing set, I don't know if there's another term for it. It's where, kids would get on and then you would push it and it goes around and around in a circle until somebody vomits. That starts to move by itself.
Yeah, I also could not figure out the name for this because it's like a combination of, the spinny thing with a seesaw.
Yeah, kind of.
I can't remember. I remember playing on those when I was a kid. Can't remember what it was called.
It was one of my favorite. And if you sit in the middle, all you have to do is make sure that, you keep your eye on one fixed point every time you go around and you won't be sick, but it's like you're not moving. And I love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's called a roundabout.
Oh, I don't like that.
Or some people do call it a merry-go-round.
You know what? I'll take that. Yeah, we'll go with that.
But again, though, this one has like seats on it, whereas most of the ones I see, like they don't have seats. They're like, it's like a big circle that you stand on with bars.
Like Spain. Yeah. The seats in Spain.
Spain. Playground, merry-go-round, Spain.
Okay, we're going to move on. So inside, Simon and Laura discuss Peter Pan because, yes, we're laying a little bit of metaphorical foundation. And then he adamantly states that he'll never grow old. So he's going to stay young, just like his new friends who are permanently age 6. And I think, again, Trace, like you've said, if you know where the movie is going, this hits doubly hard. Because initially you just think, oh, scary ghost shit. But then if you understand, oh, he's absolutely going to die, but partially he would have died anyway because she has not told him he has an illness, like, bam, hit you in the gut.
Also, because as we'll learn from the psychic Aurora later, it's the el adage, right? People who are close to death are more receptive to, like, seeing ghosts and things like that. Yes. So this also just kind of goes to show how close to death Simone is, I guess.
Or just, I always associate children being able to see ghosts.
Right. Yeah. But
children and women.
The fact that there are 6 of these friends seems to be news to Laura. I think that she thought there was one imaginary friend. And now when he says, oh, there's 6 of them, she's like, Oh.
Huh. How many friends did I have at the orphanage?
Like, if my kid had 1 or 2 imaginary friends, I'd be like, yeah, okay. 6, I'd be like, yeah, we maybe should take you to a therapist.
Yeah, let's get you to a head doctor. I've got a husband who will maybe look after illness and stuff, but like, we need to get your head shrunk.
I do think that's a little bit of a plot convenience that he doesn't say the names of the of his friends, because I think if he did, then Laura would put some of it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he does say Tomas, but of course Tomas wasn't really there when Laura was there.
And she never knew about him anyways, so she didn't recognize the name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a red flag. And then later on, she spots a familiar looking mask in one of Simon's drawings. So he says, oh, okay, well, this is my friend, Tomas, and all of them play this fun game. It's basically where they steal something that's important to you, and then you have to follow the clues. And then if you get the thing back at the end, they will grant your wish. And you think, okay, this sounds sort of fine. But anyway, so we decide, yes, let's pursue the ominous foreshadowing and play this game. So we begin with Simon's special coins, which are a collection of baby teeth, which is definitely not upsetting in any regard.
Did your parents not keep your baby teeth?
No, we did Tooth Fairy stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, we did the Tooth Fairy, but my parents, who were the Tooth Fairy, kept my teeth in a little tooth box. Yeah, like that. This is a very common thing from what I've been told.
Okay. I know there's a lock of my baby hair in my baby book, which I do have.
Sure.
Not the teeth. No, ooh.
Oh, yeah, no. My baby teeth are still somewhere in my parents' attic. Absolutely.
Wow.
Okay.
So you're just going to inherit a box of your own teeth at some point.
I kept a Ziploc bag of my wisdom teeth because they looked so cool because they had the full roots on them. I was like, this is awesome.
That is kind of fun.
Anyway.
But also gross. Yeah.
But that's just me. Also, I don't know what the piece of score is here, but I have in my notes in all caps, love this score during the treasure hunt.
Oh, it's terrific. It makes it so much fun. Like, if my kid wanted to do this treasure hunt, I would go with them. It's like, I'd be like Laura, like, yeah, let's do this. Because you're like, my son's invented this. How inventive, how imaginative.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that this is shot and edited to perfection. Like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. There's just enough stops. We're really getting wrapped up in it. And you think, okay, where's this going to end? What's the special object kind of thing? And then, of course, it ends in the fucking kitchen with the key from the Russian dolls. And you realize, oh my God, he's going to find those fucking medical reports.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, because again, Laura thinks that Simone has set all this up, but these kids, these ghosts have done all of this.
Yeah, and I love again, it's another reveal where we think, oh no, she's going to have to explain this to him. Nope. Simone already knows because they told him everything. So he just yells at Laura, oh, I know that you're a liar because you're not my mom and I'm adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But because I believe she thinks that he found this out from Benigna. Yeah.
I mean, I think all kids go through a phase where they wonder if they're adopted? I did.
My sister used to tease me that my parents had either had an affair or that like they had taken me in as like a favor to somebody else, and that's why, because the rest of my family has dark hair and then I have blonde hair, so it was very easy, and I was a gullible child.
Yeah, no. So for me, I look just like my mom and my sister looks just like my dad, so we just grew up hearing that, so I never really questioned it at all.
No, right. I think my time was brief because I have enough physical markers that I'm like, oh no, I am my parents' child. But though oddly, I discovered as an adult that I have a half brother who was adopted out.
Okay.
Who looks very much like my father. Like it's all in the open. We all know about it now. He's a very cool dude. But yeah, I think a lot of people do wonder.
Yeah.
And you go through that phase. It's such a way for a kid to hit back at a parent.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like, what if Simone did know? If he did know he was adopted, it probably wouldn't hit in the same way. Because, the question is why, we never find out why Laura and Carlos have made the choice not to tell him.
To me, I kind of explain that as like I think they want to tell him when he's older, but I think if you tell a child of that age then that might cause like maybe a rift in the relationship too early. Yeah. Like, that's at least what I thought. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been adopted. I haven't adopted a kid, so I don't know what that psychology is like.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Right.
But I kind of like in this moment, at least for Laura, that it's almost like someone coming out for you. Because she, again, like this whole thing was spoiled for her. Laura and Carlos did not get to have this conversation with Simone before he found out. And so this moment was stolen from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would be upset. I would be upset if I was the parent.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Because you probably have a plan on how you're going to do it.
Right. Yeah. And I think instead what we get is this unsatisfying aftermath where they sort of sit down as a family and you can tell that they're going to try to answer any questions he has, but all Simone wants to ask is, oh, okay, so if I stop taking this medication, how long until I die? You know, this semi-fatalistic bent where they wanted to have this happy house and maybe get a bunch of new kids in here that he was going to play with. And instead now he's morbidly thinking, oh, well, these aren't my parents and I'm just going to die.
Well, and because I think there's also another version of this story, too, where it's maybe more told from Simone's perspective. And it's like, oh, I'm thinking of like a Cobweb with Lizzie Kaplan, where it's like, you know, oh, they're giving him this medication. What is it? And look, we, the audience, don't know he's HIV positive. So we're like, oh, are his parents like Munchausen by proxying him? Or
are they the villains?
Yeah, exactly. So I do like that we don't do that in this movie, but still.
Yeah. As horror fans, all of those opportunities are on the table, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically up to the day of the open house party, and we've jumped ahead some time, and Simone insists that he wants to show Laura Tomas's house.
His little casita.
Yeah, and she's like, that sounds great. Not right now because we've got all these guests. It's a big party. It's a big to-do downstairs, so just come downstairs. And we get into a spat about this, and she ends up slapping him. Yeah. And this is that moment where it's never not effective because the parent immediately always regrets this, right? It's like, oh, I never meant to do that. I never wanted to be that person. And also, I cannot walk back from this.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons this scene, like jumping in time from this conversation where they try to explain about him being adopted and his illness to the party, works really well in terms of Simone's behavior, because what's coming out now is anger and jealousy. Yes. He doesn't want to share his mother with all these other kids.
Yeah.
You know, his, well, not imaginary, these ghost friends. They were his and his alone. Right. And he was trying to share that with his mother. And now, no, she's going to be occupied with other people. He's being a brat. Not that this excuses what she did, but he's being a little shit. Yeah. So if I was his mom, I hopefully I wouldn't slap him, but I'd be angry.
Yeah.
Once you're watching this for not the first time, if this is your second or third or whatever time watching this, this becomes so much more tragic because this is the last interaction Laura has with Simone before he disappears / dies.
Yeah, that's what I think about each time I have rewatched this movie, is this idea of, oh, this is why you should try to not let downtime follow an argument, because you don't exactly know what might happen next, right? Like, you may never get the opportunity to apologize. So yeah, she ends up slapping him, and then she tries to calm things down, de-escalate a little bit, and says, you know what, I'm going to go outside. Why don't you come down when you're sort of ready? And she leaves him behind. And then when she goes downstairs, we can see there's a bunch of kids wearing different masks and all these other fun things, but we see a sort of familiar looking face. So a child in a blue tunic with a burlap scarecrow mask. And of course, this will be the haunting image for the film.
Now, question. This next sequence I think is great. I think this is, and I love it because it's in the daylight and it's still scary.
Mm-hmm.
But do y'all think that this is Tomas, or do y'all think that this is Simone wearing Tomas's outfit?
Sheila, what do you think?
I honestly go back and forth. Every time I've watched this, I've gone back and forth. I mean, I think probably it depends on the scene. Well, I guess this is one long scene, the party scene.
Yeah.
I think the intention is it could be either of them at any point. And we don't know.
Well, because I've almost always said, oh no, this is Simone in Tomas's outfit. But we get that confirmation later where the cops are like, well, none of the parents saw any child wearing a burlap sack mask. So yeah. But then I'm like, yeah, but there's also a lot of kids wearing masks at this party, so it's probably easy that one of them could be overlooked. And I think it's intentionally ambiguous. And again, I don't think the answer necessarily matters. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I think outside it's meant to read Tomas, and then inside the figure who, pushes Laura, who slams the door on her hand, and we get to see that bloody nail.
Oh, she peels that nail off, and every time I'm just like, ugh.
But even her taking the temple into the tub, which is very shades of Zack Snyder's 2004 Dawn of the Dead, I think that this is all Simo.
That's what I thought too. I mean, I don't think there's a right answer here.
I would agree there.
Yeah.
Well, I think just because it's actually a physical interaction, we don't see the ghosts do. Well, I guess we do see things move of their own accord.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. But I guess because we're seeing an actual manifestation of a character in this outfit pushing her, this is the only time that ghosts physically interact with someone, not an inanimate object. Well, and so I say Simon.
After he locks the door, he does stick his tongue out at her through the glass, through the window.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she ends up getting locked in the bathroom for a little while. She bangs to get Carlos's attention, and when her husband comes and lets her out, we go looking for Simo, and he is nowhere to be seen. So we're looking around, we're shifting furniture, we're opening doors, calling, and so on. No avail. Okay, let's get rid of these people at the party. Let's expand the search area because night is starting to fall. So we go to the beach. We go to the cave. We're getting really frantic. Laura fucking eats shit in this water and breaks her leg.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that she actually spent more of the film in the wheelchair because I do love the sequences of her exploring the house and she has to negotiate the chair.
I thought so too, but I mean, it's because we get that time jump though. We get like a 6-month time jump, which again, as we've said, none of us have kids, but I can certainly empathize significantly with Laura because I cannot imagine what it's like to not only have your kid go missing, but have your kid go missing under your watch, under a non-threatening event like this party, and having zero answers.
Well, also, does she believe, I mean, I guess it depends on at what point in the story, does she believe, at the time it happened, the incident in the bathroom, where this child in the mask, whether it was Tomas or Simon, violently, this is incredible, attacked her, slammed her hand, and pushed her down, slams her hand, that this is pretty serious. Not the child, I mean, I think a child could be capable in a moment of anger. I think so. This is not, you're not my mother.
Right.
In the kitchen anger. This is a whole other.
Yeah,
which is
this
why,
is behavioral problems.
Yeah. Is it Simon or Tomas is an interesting question because that level of violence. And so that's the, again, so, her verbal encounter was bad. And then this to her is also this counter where her child, she believes it's her child, was so horrifying. Yeah. And it's again, we don't know what to think of it at the time. Again, if it's the second or third or more time you've seen it, you have a different attitude. So no wonder her reaction at the water is so extreme. She's convinced the little house is in the cave, so she thinks he's drowned and maybe his body's been taken out to sea, in which case it's highly unlikely it would ever be found.
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched this, I was 100% convinced we were just going to see his dead floating body in the water in the cave, and the fact that we don't, I don't want to jump over it because we do have to also introduce Pilar in the scene at the hospital. So we basically follow Laura as she's getting checked out and Carlos is there. The police are looking into the cave, but they don't find anything. But Laura is basically she's somewhere between catatonic and shock. And then we're introduced to psychologist Pilar, who is played by Mabel Rivera. And, we're collecting information about Benina because we suspect maybe it was her. Maybe she's abducted Simon because she was interested in him. But yeah, that time jump to then just, it's been 6 months. Cool. I'm gutted. I'm destroyed by this. I don't know how you could lose a child and then just have to keep living.
Yeah. It's that kind of, they've gone missing. Yeah.
And I think that's when we get to the whole are we turning on Carlos or not? Where it's dealing with their grief. At a certain point, and by the time he leaves, it's 9 months after Simon's disappearance. And so it's do you want to keep living in this grief and uncertainty for the rest of your life? Or do you just want to accept the fact that he is gone, he is probably dead, and we have to move on with our lives.
Well, this is it. You know, and I don't think either way, I mean, you can't fault anybody who doesn't want to move on, nor could you fault somebody who does. Like, neither Carlos nor Laura are wrong in their approach to the situation. And I think that, I mean, the loss of a child breaks up marriages.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
How can I describe this catastrophe? I had worked hard for nearly 2 years, that I might infuse a spark of being into the lifeless thing that lay at my feet. I beheld the wretch, the miserable monster whom I had created.
Regarding Frankenstein is crowdfunding now. Go to bit.ly/ReFrankenstein to support the show.
Yeah.
I think the only reason that I sounded shitty to Carlos, and I'm probably going to sound shitty to Carlos later on, and it's mostly just because the movie is, I'm going to argue, siding with Laura.
Oh, yeah.
So in some ways, Carlos' distance, his willingness to move on, and I do think that the movie is fairly obvious at the suggestion that there may be something going on between him and Pilar. Maybe they haven't acted on it, but there's clearly some kind of romantic angle playing out on the margins of this story. And am I alone in this?
I never had that impression
I didn't
whatsoever.
think that, but
why does he show up with her when Aurora shows up so that we can do this? Like, what possible purpose would Pilar have?
Because he thinks his wife is insane and he wants to bring a psychologist in to check her out.
Oh
yeah, because he's also
I'm going to be
doctor.
validated in the comments.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with that interpretation. I just it never even occurred to me.
Yeah, I never.
And I don't think I would agree with it, but hey.
Oh my God, that's wild. I love this. Okay, cool. We'll find out. But no, I mean, here's the thing. It's very obvious that there is a rift that develops between the two of them. And I love that Carlos has just a different, more practical, I think this feeds into his doctor persona, right? Where he builds a murder wall of maybe different sightings or places that they have checked, because we do see them driving around to different towns later on. Whereas we've got Laura, waking up in the middle of the night to investigate strange noises. So she's leaning towards the paranormal and he's leaning towards the pragmatic.
Yeah.
Which does fit with the Gothic. Because the Gothic is all about, the woman being attuned to the supernatural, where the man is the rational.
Well, and I think that's where you see the innocence influence a lot in this film as well. But of course, yes, this big noise that Laura hears in the middle of the night will eventually be revealed to be the moment that Simone dies.
Oh my God. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's so sad in retrospect. All right, so one of the things that is happening that the two of them are trying to make work is we are going to a bereavement group. This isn't a recurring piece. We only see it the one time, but it helps us to understand, yes, how Laura and Carlos are dealing with this differently. But also we do, once again, plant a little kernel that will pay off at the end of the film, where it's, even if you feel like somebody is there, almost everybody in the group says that they experience something of that kind. And then the one woman in the back says, yeah, that was how I learned to essentially let go, is I finally felt like the person was saying, you're okay now. You can let me be at peace and you yourself can move on.
Well, because it's the faces of all of them. When Laura says, like, my son is not dead. And they're all kind of like, oh.
Well, mind you, in a sense, she has a point. They don't know if he's dead.
Yeah.
At this point, they don't know. No body was ever recovered. It's just an assumption. And yeah, it could be that he is presumed dead, because either he's in the water,
it's 6
or
months.
Because he's not taking his pills. But yeah, I mean, there's Joe, you might have read about this, and sometime in the past 6 months, those 2 children in Nova Scotia went missing.
Yeah. And
they still have not found, and they disappeared from their family yard. And Trace, this is an awful case. Like, there's just dead end after dead end after dead end. It's just
they brought in dogs. They can't find them. But it's very much, could they still be alive? Well, we don't have bodies, so maybe.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also because I think also the last ditch effort is that Laura is thinking, okay, well, Benigna has kidnapped him, and so therefore that's how he's still alive. And
yeah.
Even though that we know she's not a social worker, she was aware of his diagnosis, so theoretically she could be giving him his medicine anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's important that after Benigna exits the film, that safety net of hope is gone.
Yeah, I mean, because Laura was the only one who had an encounter with her, so she's alone in this, you know, and if I were in her shoes, I'd probably feel the same. I'd be clinging to any last hope, whereas Carlos only has Laura's word to go on. So from his perspective, he feels like if he doesn't accept his presumed reality, which is that his son is dead, he's never going to be able to, he's just going to be stuck in this vacuum of grief.
Yeah. Well, and we should also note, the film, as I said, is more aligned with Laura's experience, but from what we know, Carlos never experiences any of the knocks, the sounds in the middle of the night. He never sees Tomas in the cave. So it's very much I guess, I'll take your word for it, dear, but also I'm not experiencing any of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that they have begun to do, in addition to expanding the murder board, is to drive to different towns nearby. You know, let's put up some flyers. Let's ask around. Part of me, the first time I saw this, I thought, oh, they're taking a weekend getaway just to kind of reconnect as a couple. No, that's not what we're doing. Nope. So at a stop sign, they do happen to see a familiar face. So welcome back to the movie, Benigna. Laura immediately calls her out, and this woman just gets mowed down.
That audible gasps in the audience when I saw this happen, and including from me. It's a great. I am not a huge fan of jump scares, but if you use them sparingly, like that, it works.
Even this kind of jump scare, because I've talked about this with Joe before, where it's like whenever someone is like, you know, walking out of the street and like, you know, we know they are about to get hit by a car. But what I like about this is, I mean, I know she's walking across the crosswalk, but I don't think it's framed in a way where it's like, oh yeah, she's in the middle of the street. And I like that because it makes the jump more effective when she does get hit. But honestly, I would even argue the reveal of her jaw falling off is a bigger jump scare than the car hitting her.
Oh God, that scared the crap out of me.
It's so good. Also, the effect work on this jaw and that tongue is chef's kiss.
You know, I was going to say, whenever it won the Goya for Best Special Effects, I was like, what special effects? Maybe it's this.
It must be this.
I don't know if this came up today or yesterday. Jason Blum of Blumhouse is saying, oh, you know, AI is here to stay. Let's make movies with AI. The audience doesn't care if it's AI or not. I'm like, and somebody said, are you know, something to the effect of, are you fucking kidding me? Have you ever met a horror film fan? They want to know every single minutia of detail of how an effect was created, whether it was practical or, you know, VFX.
Yeah, we barely tolerate CGI.
I know. I mean, I finally saw, speaking of dinosaurs, Godzilla -1. Very late to the party.
And it looks amazing.
It looks like, what a terrific film for the story as well as the effects. But the effects look amazing. So I have no problem with visual effects if they're done well and they work well in the story. But anyway, but Jason Blumhouse, as usual, talking out of his ass.
Well, I guess I'm surprised like studio heads like him aren't kind of like worried that AI is going to take their jobs one day. Eventually, AI will just start picking movies and greenlighting them.
Yeah, they're the ones who could be replaced, not the artists.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, exactly.
But like AI could not create an effect that good.
Yeah.
With the jawbone and the tongue and the precision of it.
Well, because it kind of, because the jaw's split down the middle, so it kind of looks, to bring up Del Toro again, it kind of looks like his vampires from Blade 2. But not vampiric. It's just an actual, you know, wound.
It's a tongue in search of a bottom jaw.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is it, of course, and very symbolic, what does Laura need? Answers. What can Benigna not give? Answers, because she has no fucking jaw.
Yeah. I will also say, I think, just because I'm prone to subscribing to my own readings, I think that it's quite important that in this particular moment before this accident happens, Laura happens to be handling Simon's HIV pills. So again, we're associating that HIV with death.
Yeah.
And also, I think you could even carry it further where we get this very confronting moment that we see Carlos giving Benina CPR. And then when he looks up to say, oh, she's 100% dead, his face is covered in blood.
Yeah.
And also, how the hell did he try to do mouth to mouth when she's got no fucking jaw left? Like, what would you put your mouth around?
I think you just blow on it, a little bit.
Right, yeah.
I mean, an admirable effort. He is, he's doing his doctorly duty.
Yeah. Yeah, so she is definitely dead. You're right, Sheila. She will not be giving us answers, but she will be providing us with a Super 8 tape. So we will get to see the contents of that. And this is our first look at Tomas. He is actually played by an actor who is Oscar Casas. And I'm interested. I've not listened to former guest Nicole Goebel's episode on this, but this movie does have, I'm going to say, an interesting relationship with differently abled people, because I feel like this part of the film plays it a bit for, oh my God, look at the monster. Like it's giving a little bit of Dario Argento phenomena.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't remember when I read it, but I remember reading a very interesting article about how, especially when people with facial deformities, you have characters with facial deformities who are constantly villains.
Yes.
In so many films. I think it came actually, funny enough, around the first Wonder Woman movie with Elena Arana, funny enough, a Spanish actress. And she's got the scar on her face, and I think that's when it came up, like, oh my God, why is it always like, so the idea that, oh, they've got a facial disfigurement, they're the bad guy.
Right. Yep. Always.
Dr. Poison, that's who she played in that movie.
Dr. Poison, thank you, yeah.
Also, I just want to say, if y'all haven't, y'all should look at Oscar Casas's...
he's hot now.
He is gorgeous. Oh my God. Oh boy.
This is the advantage of looking at actors who were children who are now fully adults, and we can oogle the goodies in an age-appropriate manner.
And his brother is also an actor who has won a Goya Award.
There we go.
Oh, who's his brother?
His brother is Mario Casas, who won...
Oh, Mario Casas. I knew him.
Yes, he won the Goya Award for the 2020 film Cross the Line.
He is a huge, huge star. We're talking like one of the top 5 or 3 stars in Spain.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's mega.
Well,
neat.
They are both very attractive men.
Well, if this guy now looks like Mario Casas, yes. Absolutely. So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, and isn't this when Pilar and the other people, they finally actually find out who Benigna was?
Yes.
So her death provides the information that's needed to start making the connections.
Which, again, this information is revealed so much sooner than I would have thought in the run. I guess we're probably like halfway over by this point, but still
halfway.
Yeah. But so we learned that Tomas was at the orphanage. The kids played a prank on him. They sent him into the cave, stole his mask. He refused to come out because he didn't want to come out without his mask, and he drowned. And the kids were not blamed because they were just playing. And I'm like, well, I mean, kind of, but
you kind of can. Yeah. I will say, as much as I initially felt uncomfortable with the suggestion that, oh, maybe this Tomas kid is bad because of, being different, I appreciated that the film made it clear that he was actually more of a victim, and that it was because he himself wasn't comfortable with being taunted. He didn't want to be seen by other people without the safety of his mask, and it ultimately ended up killing him. So I like that we got an explanation that offered some humanity to this character, who really is not that much of a character in the film. It's more of a specter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the idea also that all the children, well, save for Laura, so all the children who were left, they all had a different disability.
Yes.
One wore a leg brace, another was blind.
I think those are the only two we really get to know anything about.
Yeah. And so it also showcases how even within a group who is already marginalized, there can be further marginalization.
Right. Yes.
You can still pick on, you find the one to, I mean, although again, they barely knew he existed. So it's like, what if he was introduced into the group? What if he was treated? Maybe he would have been comfortable taking off his mask. Maybe the kids, again, do we think he's a monster simply because we're told this is a face that is monstrous?
Yeah.
What if they'd always seen his face? It wouldn't have been monstrous to them.
Yeah.
He would have just been Tomas.
It's like these studies that say, like around the world, everybody appreciates, perfect skin and a figure with these kinds of proportions, waist to hip, whatever, if you're a woman, boob ratio. It's like, well, yeah, because that's what plagues magazines everywhere around the world.
Yeah. I do kind of like then that we find out Simone was making... I mean, we'll eventually learn that he had befriended all the kids, but it seems like his closest friendship was with Tomas. So they may be connected over...
Lonely child, bonds with another lonely child.
Yeah. Okay, so... It's now 9 months after Simone has disappeared, and Laura decides she's going to take it to the next level. So she attends a lecture given by Leo Balaban, who is played by Edgar Vivar, and he's talking about the supernatural. And this is very much like, we go to the Warrens so that we can get help with whatever's plaguing our house.
Okay, but see, you say the Warrens, and I so let's just cut into this seance stuff, because I fucking love
it's so good.
Well, again, this is one of the music cues that I love. So, he says, there's someone in the field that I trust. And then we cut, and we have the medium Aurora, played by Geraldine Chaplin, granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin.
Really? Interesting.
Daughter of Charlie Chaplin. There you go.
Yeah.
But we have like the Christopher Nolan boom, boom. And I actually think that James Wan cribbed from this for Insidious. 100%. Because this is giving me Insidious vibes.
It's 100%. I know that people sometimes hate it that we end up defaulting to more contemporary examples, but I immediately thought the exact same thing, Trace. I feel like it's impossible to watch this and not be like, oh my God, James Wan just stole this.
Yeah.
This is Insidious.
Well, and this is where I feel like what I really noticed is it's not so much Spanish, because up until this point, the only Catholic articulation that has come into the film is Carlos's, he had like a saint medal, like what was saint? I'm not sure.
Oh yes, it's Saint Sebastian.
Saint Sebastian. That's the only thing, and you don't get the impression that he wears it because he's particularly religious. It was probably something passed down to him, and it's just a good.
It's his grandmother's.
Yeah, his grandmother's. It's a family heirloom. It has nothing to do with the saint. Probably it's more just this belonged to my grandmother. I loved my grandmother. It's a piece of her that I carry with me, and so there's nothing Catholic that's happened up until this point. And Laura's not turning to God. She's turning to a psychic.
Yes.
And it's no coincidence that the actress that Bayona has gotten for this is Geraldine Chaplin. I don't know if either of you are aware of her history in Spanish cinema.
I mean, I know that she's like she speaks like 5 different languages, and Spanish is definitely one of them. But in terms of her cinema, not particularly.
Okay, so I'll give you a brief crash
Give us a primer.
course.
Yeah.
So well, she's the daughter of Charlie and Una Chaplin. So she was raised in the UK, but for many years she was the partner. I'm not sure they were actually married, but partner of Carlos Saura, who passed away fairly recently. One of the great filmmakers of Spain, came up during the 60s, started making a lot of films that could be considered controversial, especially when he started making them still under the dictatorship. So Geraldine Chaplin is in a lot of his films that really started to question the dictatorship. She's very famous for films such as Anna and the Wolves, Peppermint Frappe, and then there's one called Raised Ravens, Cria Cuervos, which stars Anna Torrent, and that has a little bit of the supernatural in it. Also, Anna Torrent herself was in a very famous film, which I hope you have heard of, called The Spirit of the Beehive.
I have not
heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, I was going to bring it up later, but I guess we can talk about it now, which is about the connection of the children, not just to the supernatural, but as the voices of those lost during the Spanish Civil War. The Spirit of the Beehive is sort of set during the dictatorship days, and it's about this traveling movie theater that goes from town to town. These 2 girl sisters watch Frankenstein, the James Whale Frankenstein.
Right.
One of the sisters it's during the Spanish Civil War. She finds a Republican soldier who's injured and hiding in the family barn, and she thinks he's Frankenstein, and she starts nursing him, trying to help him survive. Anyway, but to get back to Geraldine Chaplin, she has a very long history with Spanish cinema. She's done Almodovar, so getting her would have been is a huge get for Bayona. Like, yes, Belén Rueda is the star of the film, and she was very big, but getting Geraldine Chaplin is huge. It's like getting Vanessa Redgrave in your film. It's like,
right.
You know, and she suits this role so well. She's great. I love the line, cops are cool.
So, Sheila, are you suggesting that her presence, because of her work in sort of controversial going against the dictatorship in Spain, like that's why she's been cast as a medium that goes against kind of logic and other stuff like that?
Yes. I mean, I suppose, so it's not stunt casting in the sense that, oh, here's just Geraldine Chaplin in a role. It's what she represents for Spanish cinema.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I don't think people would have gotten that if they didn't have that familiarity with Spanish cinema.
No, so the context is very much appreciated.
Yes, but also she's an amazing.
I mean, she's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
Like she
absolutely
dominates the screen in this section. I feel like you could remove this whole part and say, "Oh, this is my short film that's just about a medium who comes in and has a really scary interaction with this haunted house."
And she got a Goya nomination for this too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is super fun. Like, I love the way that this is shot, the way that this is edited. So we've got her assistant, Enrique, who is played by Andreas Gertrudix. And Enrique is drawing on a schematic of the orphanage where she goes as we're watching through surveillance camera. So it's like green footage. It's very wreck. And obviously, we also have Leo Balaban, who's, you know, taking her under, counting down from 10. And we're hearing noises. We get to hear the children crying. We learn that they were poisoned and they were locked behind some kind of door that she can't open. So this is honestly fucking great stuff.
Yeah.
I love how scientific it is. They're like, it's not just a seance at a table, like, can you hear us on the other side? It's like, no, she's like, no, we're having the cameras. We're checking everything. We've got our instruments to measure all this shit. So we're doing everything we can to prove that this is actually happening and not just in our heads.
And it's all so restrained. I don't think there's even a jump scare in this moment.
I don't think so.
But again, this is still like a very eerie, creepy sequence.
Yes, absolutely. And you're right, Trace. I mean, I think it would have been so easy, like, I'm not going to speculate what Larry Fessenden would have done. I think he actually would have had a certain level of restraint. But I could see a hack job of an American director doing something where it'd be like, and you see ghostly images popping onto the screen or like popping out and disappearing. And it'd be like, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get any of that here. It's really just, it's an older lady wandering from room to room, and we keep cutting back to reactions from the group as they're watching in the other space. And then sometimes we get to see the room that she's wandering through. So you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. Okay, so eventually when the cameras cut out, we basically dial Aurora back, and Carlos and Pilar are not buying this. They think it's a scam. Oh, they haven't asked for money, but they will. And obviously, Laura does not take kindly to this, so she does order Pilar out.
Okay, but no, get another distraction. I didn't invite you here.
Again, I mean, at this point, I'm not necessarily agreeing with Laura. I think Carlos does have a point. Like, it's easy for them to be at this point, we're not charging him anything, but they could turn around. Like, Carlos isn't being a dick in his assessment.
He's being rational.
Practical, you know,
Oh,
but I love how Laura gets at Pilar. She's like, what are you telling me? Like, how do you know anything about this?
Well, and like, we've exhausted every other opportunity, so let me at least be open to the idea of this to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't do you any harm.
Yeah. I do sometimes struggle with the time jumps in the film. Like, I think they're narratively purposeful and important, but I do often wish that we could just, this is going to sound terrible, I wish we could sit in the grief a little bit more and feel how agonizing the time passing is. But on the plus side, I do like these moments for reinforcing, well, it's been 9 months and the police have turned up 0 leads. So, like, what else am I supposed to do? This woman seems to be getting results. She's actually telling me something. She's debriefing me and saying, yeah, it's there, but you have to believe, you have to keep your eyes open and be responsive. Even if it drives a fucking wedge in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things in a sense that Laura could corroborate since she has been there before. She does remember her friends. She knows the space.
Yeah.
She probably knows it better than anybody else there. Or still alive since Benina's dead now, so.
Yeah. Okay, so Carlos at this point has had enough. He says that he wants to leave, so he is still kicking around, but when she goes into this shed the next day, so basically she plays a different version of the treasure hunt, so she winds up in this shed and she's going through this industrial-sized furnace and she finds a bunch of bags that have a lot of ash, but also some skulls and other bones in there.
Okay, when she picks up the jawbone, which this movie has a jaw fetish, clearly.
Clearly.
But I also just love the shot of Laura. Like, after she's opened everything up, she sees the bones, and we just get the shot of her. Her hair is a mess, and like she has just the white of the ashes like all over her face. Ooh, striking image.
It is good. Yeah. So we call the police.
Well, also that she finds evidence that these were her friends. She finds the retainer, that somebody had a retainer.
Yeah.
She finds the leg brace. So it's like and as soon as she pulls that out, she's got to know, this is what happened to my friends. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that that's really important too, because it helps us to communicate immediately. Oh, this is not Simon, because these are from an older case. Like, this is some generational trauma shit now.
Yeah. The jawbone is scary, but as soon as that I don't know if it was the tooth retainer or the leg brace that came out first that we saw on screen.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember thinking when I first saw it, it's like, oh, those were her friends.
Yeah.
That, how the frick did they end up in this place?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's pretty dark, right? I mean, this is Laura speculating. We never actually get confirmation that Benina is the one who killed these kids, but I mean, we're pretty sure, and that is some grim.
It never says it, but like why else? She was in there before. She asked about renovations. Clearly, she was like, I gotta get rid of the evidence.
Wait, I'm sorry, but the flashback footage of Benigna making like the blackberry pie or whatever the hell for these kids, like that's her.
Oh, right.
She's poisoning. She's poisoning the pie. Like she poisoned the kids to death.
Right. Yes.
So
it's so dark, right? Like, this was a mother who had a differently abled child, lost that child, blamed the other differently abled children, and then killed them. Like, that is, wow.
Yeah.
That's dark shit.
Yeah. Kill these kids.
Kill these kids. Yeah. Okay, so at this point, Carlos is 100%, let's get the fuck out of here. And Laura says, no, I need 2 days. You can go, but I'm going to stay. So he leaves, and it's like the trail of dust from his car has barely dissipated, and she puts on the fucking outfit like she is running this orphanage. The score kicks in.
Yeah, I wrote the score kicks in.
We have a job to do. Let's get it done. This orphanage needs to be back into orphanage shape.
I mean, and again, like, obviously we have a certain perspective because we know what we know. But if we were Carlos, I'd be like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
this
100%.
is too creepy. It is done. Our child is gone. Let's try to salvage what we can. Like, I mean, obviously that's not the story, but I completely get where he's coming from. I mean, some people might think he's being a jerk, but that's just because we know more.
Yeah.
We know more than he does. From his perspective, with the information he has, he's making kind of the right choice.
Yeah.
Or not right, but he's making the same decision we probably all would have if we had the information that he had.
And I think it's really easy for us as an audience to be like, come on, man, like, believe your wife about the ghost because it's a movie. But like, and I'm going to say this, like, my husband, his father passed away very, very unexpectedly earlier this year. And so it's been kind of a year of processing grief for him and me learning how to do that. But he's very spiritual and he's very much into seances and things like that. So he will like do things to try to communicate with his father. And it's a thing where I'm like, you know, if I was seeing this in a movie, I'd be like, yes, absolutely go do that. But I think watching it in real life, I'm kind of facing some of my own beliefs, like, well, what do I really believe about this kind of stuff? Because because there are parts where I feel like the Carlos in this relationship where I'm watching my husband kind of do these communication, like spiritual things. And I'm like, I don't know. But then I'm also kind of like, yeah, but even if I don't know if I fully believe in it, it's something that's really helpful for him. So who am I to even say anything about it? I'm just going to let him do it and watch. And maybe also my eyes will be opened up more as time goes on. I don't know.
Right.
But it could have been like, oh, you know, he gave it 6 months, he gave it 9 months, he let her have the seance. It's like, at what point does he finally have to say, this is hurting you, this is hurting us?
Sure.
And I think the reality is that he's not even insisting that she leave with him now. He's saying, I can't stay here. I will give you the 2 days that you have requested. Clearly, he comes back and it's too late.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the fact that he doesn't just insist. Like, he doesn't try to drag her out of the car. She has to fight him off or something ridiculous. So he is still giving her that grace in that space. He's just saying, I personally cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go fuck Pilar.
Okay, but I'm just going to say this, and I don't mean it derogatorily, Joe, but you do have very bad experience with being cheated on. And I feel like sometimes, because we had this discussion in Bone Lake too, where you weren't fully trusting of the person who may or may not have cheated on their spouse. And I feel like sometimes that bleeds over into your perception of characters.
100%. Yes, I'm a very suspicious person when it comes to romantic relationships.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm also going to hear from at least one person who will agree with me.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure there are other people out there. I'm just saying, I think you're a tiny bit biased.
Maybe. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. So we pick some blackberries, we set the table, we put the dolls, because she's been gathering dolls of all of the kids throughout the film as well.
And I love this montage of her setting up the orphanage the way it was. This is
amazing.
Very intense. I'm like, how the fuck was all this stuff still lying around? Like the metal, cots and all this old stuff.
And it looks like so much work, because I think this is meant to take both days that she's asked for time. She says, like, I have no time. But again, it all feels very fun because of that score.
Yeah.
I think I would describe this as intense. Like, oh wow, she's going for it. But I mean, it also helps to cue us as an audience. Okay, we have hit the breaking point. Things will happen now. We don't quite know what, but the movie is running out of time as much as Laura is. So, I mean, I love the moment where she gets here and the clock starts going, or the chimes start going, and she's waiting, and it's like, I put on this entire fucking facade. Like, I have done everything. What do you want? Where are my answers? Appear before me. And then she realizes, oh, I'm dealing with 6-year-olds. I need to play the game. So she turns around and she does the knocks.
This is one of the scariest scenes I have ever seen in film. And that it's all done in I'm assuming a single take.
It's a long take.
It's a single, exactly. It is...
I fucking love it. I love it.
Seeing this with an audience just a few weeks ago, like the second the first kid appears, so because it turns, there's nothing. And then we go back, and then we come back, and then the doors open, and then we go back, and we go back, and then there's a kid there. And the second that kid is there, again, you could hear the entire audience just gasp.
Yeah. The hair on my arms just stood up. And here's the thing. There's nothing scary about this, except that when you're watching it, it is the scariest fucking thing.
Well, and that's the thing. On a rewatch, when you know that none of these kids mean any harm whatsoever, it loses its scare factor, but it doesn't lose its effectiveness, is how I'm going to phrase this.
I like that.
Yeah. In my, refreshing my memory on this movie, I did come across an article that I hadn't. Well, if I read it from my book, I don't remember. It's from a book on ghosts. The book title is The Uncanny Child in Transnational Cinema. This is a chapter called The Child Seer and the Allegorical Moment in Millennial Spanish Horror Cinema by Jessica, and please forgive me, Jessica, for mispronouncing your name if I do, Belén Rueda. I'm sure I have butchered that. My greatest apologies. But anyway, talking about this particular time period in the early 2000s. So I'm sure audiences are aware of the Spanish Civil War that happened 1936 to 1939 that resulted in a dictatorship that lasted nearly 40 years. Fascist government. And when the president Franco finally died in 1975, democracy was brought in. But what happened was that nothing was ever done to sort of reckon with the fascist past, especially the many people who were killed, not just during the Civil War, but afterwards. It was basically swept under the rug. because we all know that if you sweep things under the rug, people forget about it and you never have to worry about it ever again.
Yeah,
anyway,
no problems.
So what happened in the early 2000s, it was a culture of forgetting. People just wanted to forget. And then in the early 2000s, there was a movement to saying, no, we can't forget about this. We have to deal with the past. Mass graves were searched for and found of people who were killed by the fascists, although not entirely. There were some on the Republican side, the people who were fighting to keep democracy. They also did their share of killing, but it was mostly the fascists, the nationalists. The funny thing is the nationalists were actually the rebels, oddly enough. They were rebelling against a democratically elected government. Anyway, so in the early 2000s, a lot of these mass graves started being uncovered, and people we have to remember the people. We have to acknowledge what happened. Justice might be out of reach, but we have to. And that's when you get a lot of films that started to deal with, especially the idea of these were the children who never got to grow up. These are the children whose lives were lost. So you see films like The Orphanage, like Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth. There's also The Nameless, Jaume Balaguero's film, that have these uncanny children.
Right.
So the author of this, in this chapter, trying to talk about, these uncanny children, sometimes like Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth, set around the Civil War, but not always, as sort of, the spirits of the dead come back, like in the uncovering of these mass graves.
Right.
So I don't believe the intention in The Orphanage had anything to do with the Civil War.
But the specter is still there, right?
The specter is still there. It still hangs over so much of Spanish film. And I think there's nothing wrong with this interpretation. I don't think it was intentional from either Sanchez or Bayona. But nothing wrong with finding in it, this uncanny child that can see, that is the memories of the ghosts of the past, especially with the way that the children here are discovered.
Right.
Not a grave as in under the ground, but a mass grave in this shed where clearly nobody's been in here. I mean, I guess we're assuming that nobody occupied this house.
I guess so,
until Laura and Carlos buy it.
Which is maybe why she's still able to find all of this equipment and recreate it, right? Because nobody's been here.
Nobody's been here. Yeah.
Interesting. I like that reading. I think it works.
Me too.
And it's interesting. And also going back to, I think one of the things that Laura says, doesn't she say to Pilar something like, how many children have you lost?
Yes.
Or I don't think I think she means that personally, but also like in a general, like who among the people investigating what happened to Simone, how many children have not been found in the past?
Right. Yeah.
How many children have disappeared in the foster care system?
Yeah.
Or never get adopted? What happens to them after they age out of the system? There's something more that can be read about that.
Because even the fact that, we had these children's bones sitting out here in this shed, clearly nobody missed these poor kids.
Yeah, why the hell did nobody ask what happened to these freaking kids?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think that's really interesting.
That's a little bit of a hole that I remembered being annoyed with that they never actually said, why the fuck, they never covered in the film what might have happened.
Like 5 or 6 kids just totally missing. But maybe that's the commentary, is that to society, these are kids that no one would notice was missing.
I think that's the sort of default takeaway we can make. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of these kids, Laura does end up following one, and she ends up getting locked in this closet with a bunch of heavy beam things in them.
It's beams that she had moved around earlier during the party when Simone went missing. So that's the other tragedy here, is that she is not only she is responsible in a sense for his trapping, maybe not his death, because she's the one that blocks his way out.
Yes. Yeah. So she herself is trapped in this room. She only escapes out of it because she collected a doorknob, which she could never position. Like, where does this fucking thing go? She looked all around the house, couldn't figure it out. Lo and behold, it opens the door that leads down to the stairs, which is where Tomas's house was. This is what Simone wanted to show her on the day of the party. And she goes down there. And I love that. I feel like as an audience, we all know we're going to find a body of a child down here, but it takes Laura's mind a beat. Like, she has to find Simon, and he's just been sleeping, and he asks if it's time to wake up, which is what he did to her earlier. And, you know, we're almost recreating a best of memory, you know, oh, I finally got my boy back. She picks him up. And it's only as the nightmare retreats and the kids basically force her to wake up. This isn't a dream anymore. And then we see her drop this blanket and there's no body inside because her son's body is actually behind her, mummified after 9 months.
We don't get like an extreme close up of this body, but we get enough to see like his cheeks sunken in. And it's really disturbing. Her nose that fill the house as she cradles his body. And that's the thing, is like this ending turns like, because I've seen people gripe at calling this a horror film, and I would protest that. I do think this is a horror film. I think any ghost story is. It's just that the end of the movie changes it to where it's like, oh, you actually don't really need to be scared of anything in this movie because there's not ever an actual threat. But I don't think you need a threat for it to be a horror film.
Oh, of course not.
No.
And it is like, what a horrible way to discover that your child died because of just a stupid mistake, a stupid accident that, you technically caused, but it wasn't your fault, you know, and you had no reason to think the banging was your child being stuck. And the fact that it's natural.
Yeah.
It's not a supernatural death. He's not been murdered. It's just a horrifying accident you had no way of knowing you caused. Like, who would have thought, oh, yes, I put those beams. Oh, that must be blocking a secret door. Like, just the devastation you would feel.
Because my memory of this, before I had rewatched this, I thought that she did cause his death. So I thought that her putting the bars back at the door knocked him back and made him fall off the stairs. So I was almost happy to when I watched it again, to be like, oh, that wasn't the case. He was just knocking and fell. Like, that's just what happened.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is, it's horrifying. This is a horrifying thing that could happen. I think you quibbled about calling this a twist, Joe, and I get your reservations with that, but like it is a reveal that I don't think anyone would have seen coming.
I think, the way that Simone died is the reveal. The fact that he is dead to me was not a surprise.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Question for the two of you, though. Would you read this and then what happened? So, like we can just kind of quickly go through the remainder. It's basically she goes upstairs with the corpse. She imagines that her son is back. She begins to take a bunch of pills. The children accept her as their Wendy, and she reads them a bedtime story. But she has died because she has died by suicide so that she can spend all of eternity with them.
Mm-hmm.
Do we read this as a tragedy? Because I think what happened to Simone is a tragedy, but then I definitely feel like the film ending is meant to be a little bit uplifting. It's like, oh, she's actually in the place where she wants to be. But I think this is still like a grim as fuck ending. Like, can we think of this as anything other than a tragedy?
I mean, I think it's tragic that she feels such despair and that I think, yes, she wants to be with Simone, but also she's punishing herself.
Right.
I mean, this is why if Carlos was here, this never would have happened, because he would have been saying, no, it was just a terrible accident. It wasn't, you caused it, but it wasn't your fault. Don't do this. You're not doing anybody any favors by dying.
Right.
So, but no, it's true. She makes the choice that in this moment of despair, she wants to be with her son. And she wants to be with the other. Her place of happiness was this house with the children. And if she has to be the adult Wendy and be their mother as opposed to their companion, then she will accept that. So I assume you've both seen The Descent with the original European ending.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, there's a debate about that as to whether is it a happy ending or not. In that ending, her last memory is she's there with her daughter. She's in this whatever fugue state. She's with her daughter. And to me, that's kind of a happy ending. Okay, she's about to die, but in this moment, at least she's with her daughter.
Right.
So
I disagree on that. So for me, I think The Descent is not a good not a happy ending, because she's gone insane and she's imagining her daughter there. I don't think that's really the ghost of her daughter. Whereas in this film, with the rules that's established, I do think this is, I call this ending a bittersweet ending. I think it's both tragic and happy, because I think for Laura, I do think it's a happy ending. But at the end of the day, she still had to die by suicide to get this ending, to escape the grief, to escape the guilt she was feeling. And I'm sure that there are some people that will take issue with the messaging of this ending. I mean, I definitely saw one review at the time that said it's one of the worst endings I've seen in a horror film in years. years. And I'm like,
what?
Well, I know.
I mean, I don't think it's not setting a message. It's just this was this character's journey. It's I don't think you know. I think
That's
I'm
how
not
I feel
saying that
about
you're
it.
saying that, Trace. Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea that it has to. This is its message it's sending. I mean, that's such a silly idea.
I think it's reductive.
It's like pins and needles when we're talking about dying by suicide. Mm-hmm. So I can understand some people saying, oh, what if people look at this and say, well, it is the best option for her to do this because we wouldn't want to communicate that to people who might be in vulnerable positions. But I don't think the film is anywhere close to that.
Yeah. I'm in full agreement. But yeah, I do consider this bittersweet. Honestly, I think the most tragic ending, the person that gets the most tragic ending is Carlos. Like, Carlos is left alone in this movie.
Well, especially because you can imagine him showing up and, finding
his dead wife,
there's the body of my child. What the fuck? Here's my, Jesus Christ. Yeah. I mean, because obviously she didn't kill the kid. He's been dead a while. But yeah, it's interesting because I watched it. I have a UK DVD that must be about a decade old. And on it are some deleted scenes.
Oh.
And one of them is a scene. This will make you happy, Joe.
Okay.
It's a scene between Carlos and Pilar.
Is it at the end?
Yes. So he's outside, had his car. They're discussing, he's saying, I just can't be here anymore. I have to go live my life. And she's like, yes, I understand. And he drives off in his car. She walks away. And then the camera pans up and there's a light in the window as if to suggest that Laura is there. I prefer the ending that we have with the last shot of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of doesn't seem necessary, but I guess maybe it offers a certain amount of reassurance, whereas the ending we do get very much seems, oh God, now he's just the one living with grief. I mean, he doesn't look incredibly distraught, but he's still there at the house. We paid to have a headstone commemorating Laura and Simon and the kids.
But I mean, again, like the final shot of this movie is he's in the room, he finds Benigna's locket, and the door opens by itself. He looks, he's looking at the camera, and he smiles. And then cut to black.
It's the same message that we got from the bereavement group. So I like that that's that full circle. But it is interesting, right, that this suggests that he can be happy, but we don't get a sense he's going on with his life, whereas that deleted scene does offer us a certain measure of reassurance.
I see my interpretation of that last shot of Carlos is they're about to play a game with him as if to say, if you want to join us.
Yeah. That's how I read it too.
You are welcome to.
What? I've never read it that way.
I actually thought that he sees Laura and the kids.
Yep.
We are them. Like, he's looking at us. And I totally believe that the door opening. I'm glad that the film doesn't show it because I think that would be entering into like saccharine territory that I just don't really need. But yeah, I fully believe that this door opens up and he sees Laura surrounded by all these kids.
Yeah, I've always thought so too. Yeah.
You too. That is so wild. I've always just thought, he sees the door open because we've seen things moving of their own accord from Laura's perspective. And even when she's not around. So I just assumed it was him saying, she's here because that door opened, but there's nothing there. But I know I can feel her presence or something. That's so, we have been on such a different path with this movie.
but I think the film invites all of these interpretations because it is ambiguous. But it's not frustratingly so.
No, I don't feel unsatisfied by this ending at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously this is the film by a queer filmmaker, but also you have this idea of the found family.
Right.
The family who are not related by blood or by genetics, but come together, forced together by circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
These children and including Laura when they were children were all brought to this place.
And they're all othered too,
they're
right?
all, except for Laura, they're all othered. But Laura still felt a part of that group. So for her, the only place to be is with them again.
Yeah.
And because she is the one who was quote unquote normal, she can be the role of the mother.
Right.
And so she chooses this family. This found family, rather than the one she has in a legal marriage that is sanctioned by the state.
Which, to me, though, I'm like, God, man, you're really like signing yourself up for just an eternity of reading kids' stories? Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm playing the knock-knock game. Yeah.
And so so when I had that shot of Carlos and the doors opening, I see that as them saying, they're almost saying to him, yeah, there's a place
join
for
us
here too. If you want to join us, you can.
Yeah.
In Never Never Land.
Right. This would still be a kind of bittersweet, but also with a certain amount of happiness. Like, it's a welcoming invitation, even though.
Because it means that to do this, Carlos would have to also kill himself.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So
we're
maybe
back
I'm
to
being a little
darkness.
bit, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was always my interpretation.
Yeah.
Interesting. I literally never thought of that.
That's funny. I mean, like, in a good way, but I think it's funny that you didn't consider that. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Well, that's
the Orphanage.
There we go.
Well, Sheila, as the guest of honor, any final thoughts on this film before we close out?
It was really nice to go back to, and I'm actually working on the Gothic for another project right now. Ooh. So that was sort of in my mind, seeing this and how Bayona and Sanchez, reinterpret a lot of the Gothic from a modern perspective, and how, in a sense, un-Spanish it is. Oddly enough, that it could, other than that San Sebastian medal, Catholicism never enters into this story.
Yeah.
And that's very different and very interesting.
Yeah, no, big recommend for me. I love this movie. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't think we've heaped enough praise on Belén Rueda. She's so fucking good in
She
this
carries
movie.
the film, absolutely.
Yeah. You believe her from start to finish. Like, it's always a debate within myself sometimes when I don't like something a character does in the film. It's like, okay, is it because I just don't agree with what the character's done, or the film hasn't made me believe that the character would make this choice? But she sells me on everything she does.
Yeah,
I
truly.
believe it. Even if I don't agree with her, I believe every choice that she makes is what her character would do in that situation. And I believe the relationship between her and the child. And I believe that she would kill herself. Even if it makes me sad that she does, I believe that that's what she would do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it sounds so bad, but it is gorgeous. That tableau image of her surrounded by the kids with the lighthouse light spinning around. You just think, this is awful and also so pretty, and I guess good for her? Question mark?
No, there are some really good shot combos. There's one when she first enters the basement, she finds Simone's body, but the whole shot is dark except for the light coming from the top of the stairs, and it is gorgeous looking.
It's very creepy.
No, it's like that. Oh yeah, that basement scene when she sees what she thinks is a live small, and it's not him. He's not alive, but you want to believe it so much for her because you just don't want to see her devastated.
I bought it the first time.
Yeah,
I did.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, I don't know how, but he's still alive. He's been living down here on canned foods or something. Dumbass.
Oh boy. Well, before we announce what we're covering next week, Sheila, let everyone know, where can they find you online?
Well, I have a website, ShelaghRowan-Legg.com, or you can find me on Blue Sky. My name, Shelagh Rowan-Legg, at bluesky.social, whatever it is, whatever the Blue Sky handles are. Those are the two best places to find me, Blue Sky and my website.
All right. Well, if you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Blue Sky and Instagram at HorrorQueers. Shoot us an email at horrorqueers@gmail.com. Find us on Letterboxd to keep track of all the films we've covered. If you want to chat with other listeners, please join our Horror Queers Discord. That link is in the show notes. If you have a moment, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want even more content, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you subscribe today, you will get 428 hours of Patreon content, including this month's new episodes on Hannibal Season 2, Episodes 9 and 10, Bone Lake, sequels The Strangers Chapter 2 and Black Phone 2, and in anticipation of next month's brand new Predator film, Predator Badlands, we're going to do an audio commentary on the animated Predator Killer of Killers that came out earlier this year.
Yes, and it's so fucking good.
It's so fucking good. And with the end of Alien Earth, our requel tier is quiet for now, but if you haven't checked out our episode-by-episode coverage of that Noah Hawley show or Season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us, you should sign up and go listen.
There we go.
But Joe?
Yes.
It's Halloween next week, so what are we covering?
Yes, it is Halloween, so we're going to get a little bit witchy trace. We're going to finally cover off the Jack Nicholson starring, but really it's the three fucking divas at the center of it. we're going to do Witches of Eastwick.
Oh, yes.
Oh, love that movie.
Yes. So much to talk about in this one. I know.
Yeah.
And a movie that I would still love to see get remade, or just get that sequel. Get the Widows of Eastwick with the whole cast back. I don't care.
Oh my God.
Yes. I would love that.
I would love it. But yeah, everyone, it's going to be a really fun time. So until then, we can cross out The Orphanage.
Indeed. And cross out horror queers.
A sleep clinic, a group of exhausted narrators and dreams that don't stay in the dark. Every night in October, nightmares become reality. Listen to this epic 31-part saga where the only thing scarier than the dreams is the therapy. Creepy presents The 31 Days of Horror. The nightmare begins October 1st. Listen to the whole series on the Creepy feed wherever you listen to podcasts. Wake up to the nightmare.
Have you met All Modern? All Modern brings you the best of modern furniture and decor all in one place. Save up to 70% during their big sale of the year. Update your space with modern dining tables, chairs, and more. All on sale at All Modern, a Wayfair specialty brand. Plus, get fast and free delivery. That's modern made simple. Shop the big sale of the year October 26th through 29th online at allmodern.com.